What does it matter what he's gonna think? He's just your friend, right? Right? Katniss? Katniss, he's just a friend, right? Hello everyone, welcome back to another video here on Bella's Bookshelves. I'm your host, Bella, and today we are continuing the So I Read series where I read popular YA books and tell you what I thought of them. And today we have quite the treat because today I'm reviewing The Hunger Games. Yes, this mega popular, who has not heard of The Hunger Games? And yeah, I'm going to be telling you guys what I thought of it. That being said though, this whole video is my opinion. Usually my opinions are structured through actual literary experience and the proper ways of writing plot points and such. But at the end of the day, it's still my opinion, so you can take it or leave it. It's up to you. And with that out of the way, let's get into my review. So I read The Hunger Games. Now before I get too far into this, I just want to say that this time my reading The Hunger Games is actually not the first time that I've read it. I actually listened to it as an audiobook about a year or so ago, but I decided to reread it just because I didn't fully trust myself to remember all the details, so I just wanted everything fresh in my mind. Not to mention, actually, even before I heard it as an audiobook, there was this one time that I had picked it up and read the first 10 or so pages on the fly. So this is the first instance where my reading it for the video is not the first time that I've read the book. But I do have to say, starting out, so I picked up on this way back during the first time that I read the first 10 or so pages of The Hunger Games, and I felt it again when I listened to it as an audiobook, and I felt it again when I read it just now. I personally found the beginning of the book very underwhelming, specifically the first chapter. I feel like this was not a book that, or at least for me, instantly pulls you in and you're just hooked by the first chapter. I personally don't think this book is like that. I know a lot of people will probably argue otherwise, saying that from the very first sentence they were hooked, or from the very first paragraph or something, they could not put it down. But I personally disagree. I actually found the writing a bit dull during the first chapter, and I feel like it was sort of easy for me to lose my attention and get distracted. But you know what, before I launch fully into all the things I didn't like, I do have to acknowledge the things that I did like about the book, because honestly I did like several different things about The Hunger Games. I found the whole survival aspect in the arena very entertaining. Like that whole part of the book, I was pretty much hooked. I won't say that it totally captivated my attention like other books I've read, but I was pretty involved, pretty invested, and I didn't have any problems at all like visualizing things and the such. Although that being said, I guess I should have prefaced this before when I was talking about the times I read the book. I have also seen the movie, so maybe that was another reason why I didn't have problems visualizing stuff. On a different note, I actually enjoyed Katniss as a protagonist a lot more than your typical YA female main characters. I liked her a lot more than Mare from Red Queen and whatever her name is from Defy the Night. For the life of me, I can't remember what that girl's name was. But Katniss seemed like a good mix of thoughtful and also resilient and strong. She definitely had a lot of prowess when it came to hunting. She had a lot of knowledge of that. She is definitely a very interesting female main character. I would argue that she's not exactly your typical main female character either, which was also very nice to read about. We had Katniss's thoughts on paper. We could see what she was thinking. So happy about that. I just wish she'd had internal conflict. She didn't. It would have been great if she did. But then again, like I said, it's very rare to find internal conflicts in books nowadays, so. But then again, the author sort of like set up everything that she could have put in internal conflict easily, especially with the whole thing with Peeta bringing up oh, I don't want the games to change me. She could have done something like that with Katniss, but that didn't happen. So bottom line, did I find this book enjoyable? Yes. Yes. Would I recommend it to people? Yeah. I mean, I would recommend it to people who like the survival stuff, who like, I guess, sort of dystopian style books. Yeah, sure. Is it my top recommendation? Not exactly. But I can see why people like it. I can see why it was so big when it first came out 18 years ago. My word, this book is kind of old actually. But that being said, I do have to get to my cons and the things that I wasn't a fan of when it came to the book. Like I alluded to at the beginning, I personally felt like the start of the book is kind of slow. I think I marked it. It's like, is it 100 pages until they get into... Oh no, it's even... Hold on, where do they even get into it? The games, the actual Hunger Games only start at practically 150 pages. So the first 150 pages are mainly them preparing for the games. And I think it's because the author was probably trying to give you an idea of what the world of Panem is like. But there were a lot of times where the beginning does sort of feel like it drags. Another thing that sort of disappointed me, or I found very underwhelming, was the whole reaping and Katniss's whole volunteering in Prim's place. Now, I had heard of the Hunger Games pretty much my entire life. I'd always heard people raving about how it was so good. I have 2 friends who love the Hunger Games. I'd heard that it was just so awesome, that it was practically a classic in a way. I volunteer as tribute! I volunteer as tribute! It's so good, I can't put it down. And the like. So, once I finally got to that part where Katniss says, I volunteer as tribute, I feel like it was a bit of a letdown for me. I don't know. I was expecting so much more, I guess, just like... Do I want to say emotion? I'm not sure if that's the right word I'm looking for. Maybe I am right. Maybe it is emotion I'm looking for, because I feel like there were some crucial moments in the book where Katniss's emotions needed to be on page more. Not her thoughts, but her emotions. Like, the feelings that are going through her in certain scenes, and it's not. And so, it makes the moment feel a little awkward, or just, I feel like it's not as monumental as the author was trying to put it. And so this whole scene here where Prim gets selected and then Katniss pushes through and she volunteers as tribute, I don't know. I found it a little underwhelming. I was a little disappointed because I thought it was going to be way more dramatic. Because, I mean, I've heard that phrase so many times in my life. I saw the movie and everything. Yeah, note, I saw the movie after I listened to the audiobook. But still. And then, I want to say my biggest problem with the book is actually all the grammatical issues in it. Like, to the point where I wonder, how on earth did this thing get past editing? And just so that way I'm not going crazy and you guys see, I did make several notes on the pages of these where these grammatical errors are. Page 4, a place where a colon should have been put. During the first part of the book, I was not marking where these grammatical errors were. I only started like around the 200 marks. Page 192. This girl, so breathtakingly beautiful in her golden dress the night of the interviews, is unrecognizable. End of sentence, start of a new sentence. Her features eradicated, her limbs 3 times their normal size. Technically, that should have been... It would have been better if there was a semicolon in between the end of the first sentence and the last sentence. Because if without one, we're looking at this sentence that just reads, her features eradicated, her limbs 3 times their normal size. It looks awkward. And so I am a big grammar person. Ask my family, ask my friends. I'm a huge grammar person. I love using proper grammar when it comes to things, even my texting. English was my strongest subject in school, and so when I see something like this, I almost want to tear my hair out because I can't handle it. Page 220. I place my feet carefully, block out the rest of the world as I take meticulous aim. That is not technically correct. It should be, I place my feet carefully and block out the rest of the world as I take meticulous aim. Because technically right here, this would be considered something called a comma splice, where you have two phrases that alone should be complete sentences or separate sentences, but instead the writer just puts a comma in between them to sort of form one when it should technically be two. Usually you only see these in like, I hate to say it, but seeing comma splices and run-on sentences makes me think of like 14, 15-year-olds fan fiction. And there are lots of other instances, especially in the first half, that was mainly where I was seeing them, where there were so many comma splices / run-on sentences, and it was really getting on my nerves. Or just other instances where you had two separate sentences that should have been joined by a conjunction. It just, I didn't get it. Now, I know that I want to say there was a period where run-on sentences were kind of seen as okay in writing, or because I remember there was one time where I had read a couple books that had used this, and I don't think it's necessarily just the author's choice in that that's the character's narrating voice. It's not a thing nowadays, okay? It shouldn't be a thing nowadays. It's still grammatically incorrect, and it drives me up the wall. Next on my list of things I didn't like, the placement of flashbacks, or just the lack of breaking up paragraphs for a smooth transition into flashbacks, if that makes sense. I know that writing styles were different 18 years ago, but it still felt odd whenever Katniss would suddenly jump into a flashback in the middle of a chapter, in the middle of a conversation, in the middle of a sequence, without a paragraph jump or like a break. So that way you kind of get the feeling, okay, we're going into the past. It just, the times that it would happen, it felt a bit jarring, or like, I don't know, it didn't feel right to me. All right, this next one, you guys probably saw it from like a mile away. Katniss's whole uncertainties regarding Gale and Peeta. If you guys saw my last video, which is me ranting about how I hate love triangles, obviously this point was gonna come up. Girl, why are you so worried about Gale? Why are you so worried about his opinion of you and Peeta? Why are you suddenly thinking about Gale's opinion? Why are you suddenly thinking about Gale romantically when Peeta shows up and shows interest? Why does she feel obligated to not have feelings for Peeta because of Gale? Right there, if I can say it, is a toxic friendship. If you're scared to think something or believe something because you're afraid your friend won't like it or will disagree with it, I don't think that's a healthy friendship. Friendship deserves honesty and openness and truthfulness to even like yourself. If you feel like you can't be transparent with your friends, I don't really know if I'd call those people your true friends. What I'm saying is, it was stated multiple times in the book, usually whenever her and Peeta were having a moment, that Katniss would kind of worry like, oh yeah, Gale's probably seeing this back in District 12. What's he gonna think? What does it matter what he's gonna think? He's just your friend, right? Right? Katniss? Katniss, he's just a friend, right? If he is just a friend, what does it matter? If you don't think about him romantically, what does it matter? Nope. Nope. Clearly, deep down, you have to feel something for Gale, otherwise why would you be thinking these things? And I do have to mention, because I mentioned this in my love triangle video, Peeta and Gale are very unlike each other. Looks-wise especially. Even personality-wise. It's like any guy her age in her life that she just, I don't know. And getting to sort of my last points of what I didn't like about the Hunger Games. I'll be honest, I feel like the ending felt very anticlimactic. I had the same thought when I was listening to the audiobook a year ago, and I had it once again when I was reading it today. Also, was not a fan of the whole attack with the mutts, and the mutts being the tributes beforehand. They made me think of werewolves too much. And personally, I think they just seemed way too different from the bare bones survival world that we've been reading for the past 200 pages. It was giving, in my opinion, too much fantasy sci-fi vibes and not actual realistic dystopian. I didn't have a problem with like the Mockingjays and the, what was it? Jabberjackers? Because those made sense. In a way, it's possible in real life. But when you are merging animal DNA with human DNA in this world where you hadn't touched on anything like that, I don't know. It felt too different to me personally. The ending with the interviews seemed to drag on a bit. In my opinion, I really don't think the book needed them. I get it that she was kind of setting up a vibe, but it's too long in my opinion. Too dragged out. The ending with Katniss and Peeta. Where's the emotion? The necessary words are there for a tear-filled, heart-wrenching scene, but practically no emotion is on page. Barely anything mentioned about Peeta's expressions or movements. Only one thing mentioned about his tone of voice. Barely any about Katniss. We get some thoughts from her, but we don't have any feelings told to us. No mention of the emotions surely roiling through her during this whole mess. Again, still racking my brain on why Katniss is still contemplating the whole Gale and Peeta thing. Don't know. I think it gets addressed in the second book. I think I heard someone tell me that. But, oh my word, for real, love triangles. They are so stupid. Oh my word. Now I know. You're gonna be like,
Bella, this was her debut novel. And 2, she's a New York Times bestselling author and like world famous. Who are you to critique her?
well, for one, like I said at the beginning, most of my critiques are not just based on my personal feelings. They are based on things from a writing perspective and what I have learned either from courses or from other teachers. My critiques have come from years of analyzing different plots, whether it be in books, movies, anything like that, seeing reoccurring things and figuring out what succeeds and what doesn't, what works and what fails, what feels complete and what feels fragmented. But I mean, I'll admit, I'm not a professional. At the end of the day, it's still my opinion. But maybe just the Hunger Games isn't exactly for me. But that being said though, I won't say I hated the book. I'll just overall say that I did like the Hunger Games. It was an enjoyable read. I actually rated it a 3.8 stars. I debated with myself whether I could raise it to 4, but I just couldn't bring myself to. Again, don't hate the book. I find it enjoyable. I'll read it again. But at least to me, and from things I've read, I think that there are other books that I've tried and have enjoyed that cover the bases I mentioned a lot better than The Hunger Games. And I think that's all I have to say about The Hunger Games. Again, this was all my opinion. You can take it or leave it. I will be continuing to read the rest of the series. I'll probably do another video going over Catching Fire and Mockingjay. I'm not exactly sure yet if I'm going to do videos covering Ballad or Sunrise on the Reaping. I'll see about that. I don't know if I want to do videos for those two though. But definitely for at least the trilogy, I'll complete it and I'll probably do another video covering the other 2 books. But I think that's about it. Make sure to tell me below your thoughts on The Hunger Games, whether or not it's in like your top 5 favorites, if it's your number 1 favorite, if you've read it at all, or if it's on your TBR. I'd be interested in hearing it. But I think that's it for today. Bye!